Folks, I did a video a few days ago on Air Force General McCasland, who recently went missing. Okay, and this is one of the people that knows the most about UFOs and aliens in America, one of the most privileged people when it comes to information, secret, top secret, classified information about aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrials that have come to Earth, the Roswell incident. This guy knows everything, if not a little bit too much, and now he's gone missing. So the mainstream media are finally reporting on it. CNN are finally reporting on this situation. But I'm going to tell you in this video, there's been previous disappearances in 2025 that are very suspicious, very similar, and I feel like people still need to wake up to the fact that dudes like this don't just go missing. They don't just disappear into thin air, especially with the knowledge that they have about aliens. Okay, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to play you some clips, but this is actually getting very scary.
Major General William Neal McCasland left his New Mexico home on February 27th and has not been in contact with family or friends since, which the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office says is unlike him. Holding a series of high-level and sensitive posts during his career, the 68-year-old McCasland once commanded an Air Force research lab associated with UFO lore. The Sheriff's Office says it has been working with the FBI and other agencies. The Sheriff's Office also issued a silver alert for an unspecified medical issue, adding urgency to the search. CNN has reached out to the Air Force and McCasland's family for comment.
So McCasland's family still looking for him. All right, his wife made quite an unusual post on Facebook suggesting that she actually might even believe that he was abducted by aliens. All right. Interestingly enough, okay, we heard some interesting breakdowns and some backstory about this from the Afterburn Defense podcast, and they would actually break down in even more detail some of General McCasland's history and his kind of background when it comes to the military and the UFOs and stuff like that. And it all just contributes to a picture of somebody that definitely wouldn't just disappear and go missing like this.
McCasland graduated from the Air Force Academy in 1979 with a degree in astronautical engineering. He then went to MIT and completed graduate work in aerospace engineering. From there, his career went in a direction most people never hear about. He worked in the Secretary of the Air Force's Special Projects offices in Los Angeles. Classified status reconnaissance programs. He ran mission planning at Aerospace Data Facility at Buckley Air Force Base, which puts him really close to the National Reconnaissance Office. He was the chief engineer of the Navstar GPS Joint Program Office, the program that built the GPS constellation the entire world now depends upon. Then he came back to Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, where he later went missing, and he commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory Space Vehicles Directorate at Phillips Research Site. In 2009, he became the Director of Special Programs in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition. That role made him the Executive Secretary of the Special Access Program Oversight Committee, the SAPOC. That body oversees America's most sensitive classified programs across the entire defense enterprise. Very important here. He finished his career by commanding the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Roughly 10,000 personnel, a multi-billion-dollar portfolio which included advanced weapons, directed energy, materials, and space systems. This is an unusual, or rather very unique, career combination of roles. Black space programs, the NRO adjacency, GPS architecture, the Special Access Program oversight, Air Force Research Laboratory Command. Most people might have one or two of these when we're talking about engineering and research. He had them all. So here's where a little noise pops up. Because McCasland's name has been circling in the UFO and UAP circles for years, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where he commanded the Air Force Research Lab, has been a focal point in the UFO lore for decades. Project Blue Book was based there. There are long-standing rumors about the Roswell crash materials being stored there. Whether any of that's true, I genuinely don't know. What is documented in 2016, a WikiLeaks published emails between Tom DeLonge, the Blink-182 musician turned UAP advocate, and John Pastetta. McCasland's name appears in those emails. DeLonge described him as a central figure to discussion about UFO disclosure and the advanced technology programs. McCasland has never publicly confirmed or discussed any of that, which is not surprising given his knowledge, his security clearances, and all the non-disclosure agreements and documents you have to sign when you get access to these programs saying you'll never spill the beans, otherwise you will go to federal prison for the rest of your life. Investigative journalist Ross Colhart called his disappearance a grave national security crisis because of his alleged knowledge of these sensitive programs. When we say alleged, if you're running the Special Access Program, you have lots of information. The framing
So they're saying that his disappearance, this is a major national security crisis. This guy knows too much. He knows everything about the classified secrets of extraterrestrial and UFO activity. Now, interestingly enough, the search for him is ongoing. He's been missing for 2 weeks. And the latest update would basically kind of reveal some pretty chilling details, because reports actually show apparently he left his house with no shoes and only one thing on him, a revolver. That's what they're saying.
The FBI and local New Mexico officials have been looking for a retired Air Force Major General who's been missing for more than 2 weeks. General William Neil McCasland was last seen on February 27th in Albuquerque. Police later issued a silver alert, which is done in the cases of missing seniors. During a press conference today, authorities released new information which they hope will crack the case, including what McCasland was wearing when he vanished. McCasland has long been associated with the UFO community, and his disappearance came just days after President Trump announced that he would release government records tied to UFOs and extraterrestrials. McCasland's wife has insisted that the general's disappearance had nothing to do with UFOs or that announcement. Of course, that doesn't stop many in the UFO community from thinking it's all part of some sort of conspiracy. Joining us now from New Mexico is News Nation national correspondent Alex Capriel. Alex, what are we learning about this search?
Yeah, Elizabeth, some new developments that came from the sheriff's office today. First and foremost, they said for the very first time that General McCasland had been experiencing what they're calling a brain fog for the last several months, something that we had never actually heard before. But that being said, they said that he showed no signs of other behavioral issues, be it depression or suicidal thoughts. We also learned that the hiking boots and the shirt that the police thought that he was wearing at the time of his disappearance was actually inside of his house all along. In fact, they said that there were no shoes that were missing from inside of his home, which makes you wonder who actually leaves their home voluntarily without a pair of shoes. Just one of many suspicious facts that the police are following at this time. There's now this massive effort from local, state, and federal authorities to search the mountains that are right here beside his neighborhood. They're using everything they've got, whether it's helicopters, drones, and canines. But at this time, the sheriff said that there's been no heat signature detected in those foothills. But even if he was hiking, it really doesn't explain why so many things are out of the normal with this case, especially coming from a guy, a military man, who was so highly regimented. Things like why he didn't tell anyone where he was going, why he left his phone behind, but why he took his .38 revolver. The internet now buzzing with conspiracy theories, especially from those armchair experts who wonder if he was actually taken against his own will. He's an important man who has climbed the ranks of the U.S. military, learning top secrets and sitting in on classified briefings. While police say there's no evidence of foul play at this time, they're thankful for the rabid UFO community for digging deep into theories that they can't do on their own.
I appreciate that there's a community that wants to go down the rabbit hole of UFOs. I don't have a way with which to pursue that. And so those theories have to be set aside unless we were to find something that indicated that. So we can only go off of fact at this point.
And Elizabeth, they're just hoping more tips come in.
Alex.
So he left his home, no shoes, no phone, revolver. This is so bizarre and it's so scary. Now, we previously talked about the very bizarre post that his wife had made on Facebook, where she basically said, you know, he wasn't abducted by aliens unless it was quite a bizarre statement. So I'm going to read it to you again. Okay. She said, Neil McCasland has been missing for 1 week. And this was a week ago. This is more than a week ago. This was over 10 days ago. There's been no indication whatsoever where he might be. There's been dozens of searches on foot, both official and friends and neighbors of Neil who coordinate with official sources. There's also been horseback searches, drones with different capabilities, helicopters, 3 types of search dogs, neighborhood canvassing, and looking for ring or wildlife photos. Organizations involved are the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office leading the organization, Albuquerque Field Office, the FBI, New Mexico State Search and Rescue, Albuquerque Mountain Rescue, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and Albuquerque Police Department. All of that shows you just how serious this situation is and just how much of a flipping disaster it is that somebody so important with so many secrets would just go missing without explanation. Now, she attempts to dispel misinformation circulating around him. There was a silver alert that mentioned medical conditions. She denied him having Alzheimer's or dementia. There was no concerning Friday morning telephone call to a close relative. That's a fabrication. When he was in the Air Force, he had access to some highly classified programs and information, but he retired from the Air Force 13 years ago and has very commonly held clearances since. Only very commonly held. It's not only very rarely, only very commonly held clearances since. So he was commonly getting clearances They're saying it seems quite unlikely, not impossible, that he was taken to extract very dated secrets from him. It's true he had a brief association with the UFO community through Tom DeLonge. They worked together. They were working on a book together. He helped him with his book. The Russians hacked John Podesta's emails. There was less contact after that. This connection is not a reason for someone to abduct him. He does not have any special knowledge about the extraterrestrial bodies and debris from the Roswell crash. How would she know? Though at this point, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. Now, a lot of people felt like that little joke at the end about him being beamed up to the mothership being the best hypothesis. All right, maybe she was making a little joke. Maybe that's how she deals with her grief. But what is very, very bizarre, okay, she actually apparently is into music, and she posted this song a few years ago, okay, 5 years ago. This is her, all right, Susan McCasland Wilkerson. This is her song, the vocals, all right. She made the song. It's called Indigo Blues. No word he gave before he left one night. What?
Like an owl, so silent in his flight, left my world so dark, I long for light. He's given me those deep, deep indigo.
So, this is a song about her man going missing. Like, what the hell? So, people are obviously saying, you know, they hope that her man comes back. People have just discovered this recently. They're sorry for what she's going through. People are saying there will be a lot of curiosity about how this song lines up so well with what's going on. Did he know this time was coming? Did he disappear for a while previously? Or did you have an experience that told you this would happen? I know you're not going to answer, but a lot of people are praying that the general is safe and you can be together again soon. People are very confused, okay? They're saying that the song could be connected. Now, I've got the lyrics, okay? I've got the exact lyrics transcribed for you here. I'll read them to you because we don't need to listen to all of that. But so no word he left. No word he gave before he left one night, like an owl so silent in his flight, and left my world so dark I long for light. He's given me those deep, deep indigo blues. I'm deep in the dark and I don't know what to do. The midnight swallowed him and left no clue. There was a time, it seems so long ago, I lived in a world of colours all aglow. He was my man, oh yes, he was my boo. He's given me those deep indigo blues. I'm deep in the dark, I don't know what to do. The midnight swallowed him and left no clue. The moon, that fickle orb, has left me too. All the universe is now so untrue. No man, no light to guide. What can I do? He's given me those deep, deep indigo blues. I'm deep in the dark. I don't know what to do. The midnight swallowed him and left no clue. Yes, the midnight swallowed him and left no clue. The midnight actually did swallow this guy and leave no clue. What are we doing here? How is this real? Honestly, I can't believe it. So her page on Facebook would also have multiple posts that seem to directly reference aliens, all right? Things that she posted. Looks like a record of alien visitation, including their rocket ship, all right? She would post a lot of things, a lot of unusual and bizarre things to her Facebook page that had a lot of people wondering, is she communicating with the aliens? Does she know that the aliens are coming? This is very bizarre, all right? This monolith. All right, this is quite a famous thing from film and movie culture. People saying, stay away from the tapirs. You might develop violent tendencies. They're saying, is your spaceship ready? Is your spaceship ready? All right, so it still needs a little work. Maybe any day now. Maybe about the time Trump concedes. So she's talking about alien launches. Always knew Neil McCasland had some kind of connection with aliens. It's well documented. That's 5 years ago. Somebody commented that. It's underneath me, but this comment here is what I'm talking about. Yeah, it is a little bit strange, a little bit odd, okay? It is very, very bizarre. Now, setting aside the song and the fact he's been missing for weeks and he left with no shoes and he left with no phone and he just took a revolver with him, very bizarre. Absolutely no trace of the guy since. The Sentinel Network just published an article and it exposed apparently there was another disappearance in 2025 under very similar circumstances that even had connections to General McCasland, okay? The Green Burial. She was declared dead 4 days after she vanished, and the helicopters were still searching. She waved at her hiking companion from 30 feet away, then she ceased to exist. 8 months later, so did the general who funded her work. Listen, you're not going to believe what I'm about to read you, okay? It says The Wave. On June the 22nd, 2025, 60-year-old woman waved at her hiking companion on the ridgeline in the Angeles National Forest. She was 30 feet behind him, bright red shirt, green hiking pants, clear weather, a route she hiked every week. That wave is the last confirmed contact anyone had with Monica Jacinto Reza. Every news outlet that covered this story ran the same framing. Missing hiker, rugged terrain, please check your cameras. Standard template, what none of them reported is who she actually was. Reza co-invented Mondaloy, a family of nickel-based super alloys now built into the engines, replacing Russian-made rockets for American national security launches. She held the patent. She spent decades as a technical fellow at Aerojet Rocketdyne, the highest technical rank in the company. She was an associate fellow of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. At some point after 2023, she moved to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. That matters because of what happened 8 months later. On February the 27th, 2026, retired Major General William Neil McCasland walked out of his Albuquerque home and into the Sandia Mountain foothills. He left his phone, he left his glasses, he left all of his wearable devices, but he took a gun and his wallet, and he's not been seen since. In The Ghost General, we mapped McCasland's career commanding the Air Force Research Lab from 2011 to 2013, overseeing the $4.4 billion portfolio that funded the most sensitive aerospace research in the country. That portfolio funded Monica Jacinto Reza's work. Her alloy is in the engines his budget was actively building. We did not expect the General's trail to lead here. It says American rocket designers had a problem for decades. The Soviets could build oxygen-rich stage combustion engines, but we couldn't. Not because we didn't understand the physics, because we couldn't find a metal that survived the environment. Picture the inside of a rocket preburner. High pressure, gas oxygen, superheated, slamming through components at forces that would vaporize ordinary steel. The metals strong enough to hold that pressure were the metals that caught fire in the oxygen. The metals that didn't catch fire were too weak to hold anything. Every alloy was a trade-off that lost on one side or the other. That's very interesting. In the mid-1990s, at the Rockwell Science Center in California, a metallurgist named Dallas Hardwick and her research assistant Monica Jacinto cracked it. They found a nickel-based composition. Did you hear that? They found a nickel-based composition that could sit in that inferno without igniting and without cracking. No coatings, no liner, bare metal touching gas oxygen at extreme temperatures. They called the alloy Mondaloy. The name is a portmanteau. The Mon belongs to Monica. And in 1999, the Air Force Research Lab started putting money in. NASA followed. The lab-scale alloy became two production variants, Mondaloy 100 and Mondaloy 200, different chemistries for different heat and pressure ranges. You can cast it, forge it, 3D print it, 20 years of material qualification, component testing and integration work. Monica Jacinto led all of it. In December 2017, Space News profiled her. The headline was, "What is Mondaloy and why should you care? Here's why you should care. The AR-1 engine is Aerojet Rocketdyne's replacement for the Russian RD-180 that launches America's national security satellites. 12 components inside that engine are Mondaloy, pre-burners, turbine rotors, turbine housing, ducts and lines, and hot gas manifolds, every part that touches the fire. The hydrocarbon boost technology demonstrator, the Air Force's program for reusable 250,000-pound thrust engine, uses Mondaloy. Both programs the Air Force funded, both are flowing through the AFRL. The patent is a public record. It's a burn-resistant and high tensile strength metal alloys by Jacinto et al. The Cal State LA Launchpad 2021 page documented who she was. Technical fellow for materials and processes engineering at Aerojet Rocketdyne, associate fellow of the AIA, 30 years leading R&D teams, Columbia for her BA, BS in metallurgical engineering, UCLA for her MS in material science, born and raised in Los Angeles. She was a big dog. Her mentor, Hardwick, later moved to the ARFL in Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and by 2005, she was leading all materials research for advanced gas turbine engines. Her group, AFRL Materials Directorate, was the government half of the Mondaloy partnership. Reza built the alloy at Aerojet Rocketdyne. Hardwick's team qualified it at Wright-Patterson. 2 women, 2 institutions, 1 program. When McCasland took command of the AFRL in May 2011, Hardwick was still there. Reza's contracts were still active. All 3 of them were in the same program at the same time. Hardwick retired in 2012 after a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, and she continued monitoring the AFRL Emeritus program, but she died on January the 5th, 2014. After Hardwick's death, Reza said publicly, "I hope she understood that my accomplishments and successes are in large part due to her. Nobody outside the propulsion world knew her name. That was fine. She made the metal that makes the engines work." But 3 hikers would depart the 6,000-foot day-use parking area on Angeles Crest Highway approximately 9:10 a.m. Pacific Crest Trail crossing at Highway 2, 7 or 8,000 feet, challenging but well maintained. A neighbor later posted on the Crescenta Valley Sheriff Station Facebook page, "What we know is that she went hiking with her yoga group and friends, and her car was parked at one of their houses." Read that again. Her car was at someone else's house. She was dependent on the group for transport. One of the 3, designated Subject C in a civilian investigation, stayed at the bottom of the steep section. Razor and the lead hiker, Subject A, continued to the summit of Mount Waterman and begun descending the West Ridge. Independent investigators on the Espiriton Hiking Forum reconstructed the timeline using metadata from photos that the group took on the trail. The pair covered a mile from the summit to their last photograph position in 17 minutes, roughly 3.5 miles per hour. A jog, then 0.3 miles more in 5 minutes to the spot where everything stopped. At a northerly right turn on the ridge, Subject A claims he communicated the turn to Reza. He says she was 30 feet behind him. He initially reported 30 yards, then corrected to 30 feet. Photographic evidence from moments earlier showed 60 feet of separation. The distance kept changing. Razor then acknowledged the signal with a wave. Subject A made the turn. He descended approximately 150 feet before realizing she was not behind him. He returned to the ridgeline in 8 to 10 minutes and she was gone. He called her name, Subject C, over 1,600 feet away and 500 feet below the ridge on a noisier highway side, could hear his shouts. Monica, who by Subject A's own account had been 30 feet behind him less than 10 minutes earlier, did not answer. Nobody heard from her ever again. How does this happen? The search for nothing. So acting captain Ryan A. Vienna of the LA County Sheriff's Crescenta Valley Station called it an extraordinary search. He wasn't exaggerating. Montrose search and rescue led. They were joined by units from Altadena, Antelope Valley, Malibu, San Dimas, Sierra Madre, San Diego, Ventura County, Orange County, San Bernardino County, Riverside, everyone. Federal partners were involved, but not publicly named. Vienna thanked our federal partners for their continued assistance. Could be, FBI, could be someone else. LASD's Air Rescue Helicopter 5 ran thermal imaging sweeps. Fleur went up the first morning after she disappeared. It picked up a bear. It picked up other searchers. It did not pick up a 60-year-old woman in a red shirt. They ran algorithmic pixel matching program through the aerial photography, calibrated specifically to the red of her hiking shirt. High-tech, it flagged hits. Ground teams hiked to each one, Mylar balloons, every time. I don't know what that means. Says they mapped every search track on CalTopo to prevent overlap across a 40 to 50 mile radius. They ran canines. They deployed what Vienna described as forensic technology, photography, airships, drones, canines, and other specialized tool with nearly no available resource untapped. They did absolutely everything. Only one piece of physical evidence was recovered. On the morning of June 23rd, approximately 24 hours after the disappearance, a beanie belonging to Razor was found in a steep ravine south of the ridge, descending towards Devil's Canyon. Scent dogs tracked Razor's trail from the upper ridge downward and successfully followed it to the beanie. Then it lost all scent entirely. No exit trail, no trail in any direction. Razor's scent simply stopped at the beanie and went nowhere. In October, an independent investigator who visited the site spoke directly with Subject A. They said, "Without significant wind to me, this meant the beanie got transported there by some walking animal, not a flying bird or someone other than Monica." Multiple civilian searchers who descended the ravine described the terrain as steep, but not steep enough to be fatal if someone fell. The slopes were open and visible. Hundreds of people searched south of the ridge for months. Nothing. The day she went missing, someone reported hearing a woman screaming in the general vicinity. The original witness was never publicly identified, and the time and exact location were never disclosed. A lip balm was later found far from both the last known position and the beanie. Subject A insisted it looked new and was hers. The only photo provided showed that it looked somewhat weathered. Forum investigators noted it was a common brand that could have belonged to any of the hundreds of searchers who already covered the area in weeks before it surfaced. On June 29th, 1 week in, Vienna announced the conclusion of the initial response plan, and the case was transferred to the LASD Homicide Bureau Missing Persons Unit. Homicide. Detectives Shannon Rincon and Richie Sanchez. This is a standard procedure for an unsolved missing persons in LA County, but it alone does not indicate a presumption of foul play. But as of March 2026, Monica Jacinto Razor has not been found. Okay, it's interesting theories on what happened. So it says Subject A is not publicly identified, but what followed is sourced from Espiriton, Reddit's r/social hiking, and the Help Find Monica Razor Facebook group. He's described repeatedly as a yogi who operates a wellness business that includes taking clients and Onto outdoor excursions, Razor was not merely a hiking friend, she was a client. His post-disappearance behavior draws sustained scrutiny. One Reddit user documented that this yogi is still out there searching for her in the heat and rough terrain. He was very adamant about searching every bush and rock. The same thread included a counter-analysis. It is probable that he's building an alibi to protect himself and his wellness business. However, let's say I was the yogi and had killed one of my clients. Why would I create a fake scenario where I lose someone on my own hiking event in a well-traveled area? This totally jeopardizes my own business and makes me the last person to see her. Fair argument, but there's a directional contradiction that nobody's resolved. Subject A explicitly told Razor to make a northerly right turn. He claims she acknowledged it with a wave, yet when SAR arrived, Subject A was reportedly irritated that teams searched north and insisted she must have traveled south. Think about it. If you tell someone to turn right and they vanish, your first instinct is that they tried to turn right and missed it. You don't argue for the opposite direction unless you have a reason to redirect the search. Civilian organizers in the search, widely believed to be connected to Subject A and the hiking companions, drew intense criticism for information control. On October the 18th, 2025, a user wrote, "Organizers would not share previous search routes and became very guarded with information. This is a huge disservice to Monica, as volunteers were searching the same areas over and over again." They would continue, "The organizers seem more interested in controlling all aspects of the search and online discussions regarding the disappearance to protect the other hikers who were with her, rather than actually doing what's best to find her remains." 2 months in, Subject A was reportedly still searching, very adamant about searching every bush and rock. Forum investigators suspected he was operating a YouTube account that aggressively responded to anyone suggesting foul play. The man who lost her embedded himself in the effort to find her. We're not accusing Subject A of anything, but we're documenting a pattern. The group was split before the disappearance. Subject C left at the bottom, one witness removed, Monica carpooled, no independent transport out. The pace on the ridge was 3.5 miles an hour, a jog on descending terrain with a 60-year-old woman who was 4'11 and 101 pounds. That's how you create separation conditions. Then the distance shrinks in the retelling. 30 yards becomes 30 feet, but the photos show 60. He told her to turn north, then insisted SAR search south. When a lip balm was found far from both the LKP and the beanie to the south, Subject A insisted it looked new and was hers. The only photo showed it weathered. The organizers locked down information, controlled online discussion, and posted a 4-minute video that's since disappeared from the internet. And Subject A stayed inside the search, monitoring what was found and responding to what was said. Isolate, accelerate, minimize, contradict, control, and embed. So it says, here is what makes the JPL details sting. Until 2023, every public record listed Monica Jacinto as a technical fellow at Aerojet Rocketdyne. 2016 Cal State LA newsletter said Aerojet Rocketdyne, a launchpad page, space news profile. It was reported in July 2023, L3 Harris acquired the company for $4.7 billion. And then on the current 24-25 Dean's Advisory Board, a different listing, Monica Razor, JPL, NASA. So it says she moved from the defense contractor that built the engines to the Lhasa Nab that sits in the Crescenta Valley, 30 miles from the Angeles Crest Highway from the ridgeline where she vanished, under her family name rather than the professional name attached to her, patents and publications. No public announcement, no press release, sometimes between 23 Space News Profile and the 24-25 board year. JPL is a federally funded research and development center managed by Caltech for NASA. It builds planetary spacecraft operating in the Deep Space Network, employing roughly 5,500 people in LA, Canada, and La Canada, Flintridge, in the same community whose sheriff station led the search for Monica Razor. Aerojet Rocketdyne issued no statement about her disappearance, neither did the NASA, JPL, AIAA. Nobody talked about it. Space News published a feature profile of her in December 2017, but didn't cover her disappearance. Aviation Week or Defense News didn't as well. The only signal from anyone inside the system is a Reddit comment on r/social hiking, saying, "Any updates on the search? I'm a JPLer, and I found something is not right about this story. She needs to be found." She was one of theirs, and the entire aerospace industry pretends it didn't happen. Very suspicious. This is findagrave.com that was apparently created while the helicopters were still in the air. So it says, the Green Burial. On June the 26th, 2025, 4 days after she disappeared and 3 days before the official search was even suspended, someone created a memorial page for her on Find a Grave. The memorial was created by a contributor publicly identified as Lillian, but the profile is no longer accessible. It's maintained by a separate contributor called JC. 2 photos were added. One matched the image from the missing person flyer. It added all of this while helicopters were still looking for her. Look up what green burial means. No embalming, biodegradable container straight into the earth. You need a body for that. No public records indicate her remains were discovered. No obituary was published. No death certificate is accessible through public databases. No funeral announcement was issued. The Homicide Bureau Missing Persons Unit has not announced a resolution. Someone declared Monica Jacinto Razor dead and buried 4 days into the search, while SAR teams from half the state of California were still climbing the mountainside. Very suspicious. So it says, we published our investigation of the McCaslin disappearance in the Ghost General. We're not repeating its contents here, but we need to walk you through something we found while pulling the funding chain. It changes the shape of this story. The Air Force started funding Razor's superalloy work in 1999. McCaslin commanded AFRL from May 2011 to July 2013, overseeing $4.4 billion in science, tech, and customer-funded R&D at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. His budget directly funded the programs that depended on Razor's alloy, AR-1, hydrocarbon boost, Air Force propulsion. That alone would be worth documenting. A general's budget, a contractor's alloy, 2 people connected to the same river of money, and both of them vanished from familiar terrain. But the connection isn't that simple. Go back to Dallas Hardwick. Remember where she went after Rockwell. She moved to AFRL, Ohio, Wright-Patterson. By 2005, she was leading all materials research for advanced gas turbine engines. Her group, the AFRL Materials Directorate, was the government side of the Mondaloy cost-sharing contracts. Razor was the contractor side at Aerojet Rocketdyne. These were not 2 separate organizations that happened to share funding. This was one program with 2 halves. Hardwick's team at AFRL qualified the alloy. Razor's team at Aerojet Rocketdyne produced it. Every Mondaloy test article, composition variant, material certification flowed between them. 2 women who had invented the alloy together at Rockwell in the 90s were now running both ends of the pipeline that would put it inside the American rocket engines. In May 2011, McCaslin took command of the entire Air Force Research Lab, every directorate, every program, every dollar, including the Materials Directorate and including Hardwick. She was one of his senior civilian scientists. Her materials research program reported up through his authority. The Mondaloy cost-sharing contracts with Aerojet Rocketdyne flowed through both of them, and when Razor's team in California shipped data to the government for qualification, it landed in Hardwick's directorate inside McCaslin's lab. This was not an arm's length funding relationship. These 3 people were on the same program: the commander who authorized it, the scientist who qualified the materials, and the engineer who built the alloy. 3 vertices of one triangle, the human chain of custody for a super alloy that the US cannot build next generation rocket engines without. Dallas Hardwick retired in 2012 after getting cancer diagnosis. She died on January 5th, 2014. The first vertex gone. Monica Jacinto Razor waved at her hiking companion on June 22nd, 2025 and vanished from a ridgeline in the Angeles National Forest. The second vertex gone. And now William Neal McCaslin walked into the Sandia foothills on February the 27th, 2026 and has not been seen since. The third vertex, the whole triangle gone. That is insane. All right. The metallurgist who understood the crystallography, the engineer who scaled it for production, the general who greenlit the programs it went into, every person who held the complete picture of how this alloy moved from the lab bench to the inside of the American rocket engine is now dead or missing. The chain is not frayed, it's severed. Now look at the 2 who vanished side by side. Monica Jacinto Razor, weekly hiker, 30 feet behind companion, FLIR negative, scent trail terminated, no body. William Neal McCaslin, avid outdoorsman, left home on foot, left phone, glasses, wearables behind, no body. Razor, only real physical evidence is a beanie in a ravine inconsistent with her trajectory. McCaslin, only physical evidence is a grey sweatshirt found 1.25 miles from home, unconfirmed as his. Razor, total institutional silence from employer and professional societies. McCaslin, his wife's public statement explicitly addresses the UFO angle as there's nothing to see here. One's a coincidence. This is a pattern. Okay. Honestly, that's insane. That's insane. So they're saying that 3 people were involved in the development of this alloy, a new, blend of metal that was so powerful it would revolutionize rocket engines, and that they were planning to put these in American rocket engines and working with NASA. One of them gets cancer and dies. One of them disappears hiking, and then the other guy's just disappeared now. Okay. Nothing to see here, folks. This is insane. This is actually giving me goosebumps. This is giving me chills. I'm actually scared. So look, you guys let me know. Do you feel like there's a conspiracy going on here? I could believe one person goes missing. It has something to do with the aliens and the alloys and the, 2 people. And then the third person that was involved, all these 3 people died of cancer. And now everyone's just gone missing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm believing that one. But let me know what you guys think of this, okay? If you want me to keep covering this alien UFO stuff, I will. I do find it personally very interesting. I like learning about it with you guys. If you want me to keep covering it, make sure that you comment. Make sure that you like, subscribe, show some love to this video. And until next time, I'm about to do another video. It's going to be about Israel, all right? I know you like hearing about that. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching this one. And for now, I'm out of here. Stay safe out there and look out for them aliens.